This week I have a Merry Christmas card with lots of sparkle and pizzazz. So I've got some very beautiful trees, and if you want to know how I made them, stay tuned. I'll be using the Paper Artist cutting dies, the fancy Christmas tree cutting die, and you can see this is covered in foam so the paper that you cut with will easily pop out from the die itself. And it's got an image of what the actual Christmas tree will look like, as well as a project idea on the back. And I'm also going to use these border dazzles, and it's a really pretty glittery red finish, and the tiny borders are gold. And then we also have this fabulous shiny gold stars holographic paper, as well as a sheet of this forest green suede paper, which I'll be using for the tree, and the vintage Christmas paper pack. So taking a look at the package really quick, we've got project ideas all over the place. We've got some really pretty designs. Here we go. Just a quick flip through. Pretty red swirls all over dot. Gorgeous poinsettias on 2 different colors. And you get 2 of each of those papers in this pack. Alright, let's get started on the card. The first thing I'm doing is cutting out my fancy Christmas tree. So I've got the cutting die here, and I've got a piece of green suede that matches the size. This is a tad little bigger than the die. And the way I did that was simply just place the die face, blade or foam facing down on your paper and just simply cut around. No need to be exact. Then I place my die, blades side up, on my cutting platform. I'm using the Epic 6 die cut machine. Any major die cutting machine will work, however, so there's plenty out there. So I'm putting my cutting mat on top, bringing in the cutting machine and rolling it through. Alright. Let's see what we got here. Okay, look at that. So it's separated perfectly from the die, and now just separating it carefully. And the inner parts also are nicely cut. This suede paper is surprisingly very easy to work with using these dies. So I'm simply pulling out all these detail parts, and if there's a piece that's kind of sticking, I can always poke it out with a toothpick or something. Alright, so I got all of my pieces separated from my tree, and look how fancy that is. I would never be able to cut that out by hand. So the innies, I like to call them, can also be used as little embellishments. Like these little swirls are pretty. This could be used in a corner somewhere. This one's really pretty, and of course we have the star innie, so save those scraps if you want to decorate your card further. Alright, so now I'm done with my beautiful tree. Now what I want to do is back this pretty tree with the gold holographic, but I don't want to back the swirled parts, just the tree. So I'm taking my holographic paper and turning it to the back side, then placing my tree right about here. So I'm just gonna outline the tree, or trace the tree with a pencil, including this star, but I'm going to skip the swirls. So here we go, just concentrating on the outer line of the tree. So when I take this up, you can kind of see how I've skipped some lines here, but those will be connected when I cut it out. So let me finish tracing my tree here. Okay, so here is my tree. As you can see, I've skipped the swirls. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this tree out, just keeping to the inner edge of the line that I just traced. So leaving about maybe a 1/16 to an 1/8 inch of a border, so that my gold will not show on the outside of my green tree. So here are my two trees. Cut up my gold tree and my green tree is here, and if I lay the green tree on top of the gold bits should show through. Perfect. So this tree is really intricate, so I think the best thing to use for gluing would be tacky glue, Eileen's tacky glue. And what I'm going to do is just place some little dots, not too thick, of glue in certain places that are going to mainly around the edges, things that might pop up, but those are going to hold this piece down to the gold. Now I placed this on some green paper just to show you where I placed all my little dots of glue. And now I'm going to take my gold tree, place it face down, and center it over the green. Trying to be careful to line it up correctly. Okay, so flip that over. Right, looking pretty good. So while that tree dries, I'm going to go ahead and cover my card, and I'm going to use the red swirl pattern here. So just cover with glue stick, trying to get the corners so they don't peel up. And with my paper, lining it up on the corner here. Then I simply take my acrylic ruler with a metal edge here and my handy dandy retractable knife, and I'm going to put the tip of my knife right at the edge of the card, here at the top and then here at the bottom. So I'm lining up the ruler with that. Let's see if we got it. Yep. And then the vertical cut. Same technique. Touch it right there and right there. Line it up. Okay. Take that away. And perfectly covered card. And this has a cute little button, snaps right in for safety, so that's really nifty. Okay, now I've also cut a piece of this paper, and this is going to go in the center. This is measuring 4.5 inches wide by 5 inches tall. First, I'm going to use my corner chomper once again to round the corners. This is a really handy tool to get all your corners rounded the same exact way. You could use scissors, but this is just makes it so much easier. Alright. So that's going to get glued down right about here. My tree's going to go there. And I'm also going to add some of my sparkly dazzle borders. Now before I glue this rectangle down, I want to ink the edges. So I'm taking my Timber Brown Stays On ink pad and a cosmetic wedge, and simply dabbing it on the ink until I get a good amount, and then very lightly just brushing the edges with a feathering motion, you can see, it's getting a nice edge there. Now that I've got that tree glued down and my mat here glued down, I'm going to start decorating with dazzle borders. So they're going to kind of fall from the top of the card, sort of like icicles, but more cheery and red and Christmassy, if you will. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. So here you can see I've added they're sort of like those icicle lights, I like to think, since they're so nice and sparkly, but the jewel border dazzles add a nice bit of shine to the top of the card. Now for this strip, I'm going to put the greeting there. So I've cut this 3/4 inch wide strip of green paper, and that's coming off of this sheet right here, just part of the plainer green pattern. And what I'm going to do is stamp and emboss my greeting. So I'm using the Christmas greetings here, and I'm actually going to use the Merry Christmas. So I've got that on my stamp already, and I'm going to go ahead and use my Versamark stamp pad, my champagne gold embossing powder, and my embossing tool, and I'm going to go ahead and emboss that. Just inking up my stamp. Stamp it in the center. Pour on some embossing powder. Shake it off. And I'll emboss this. Okay, so you can see that's nice and gold and shiny. So next I'm going to go ahead and ink the edges with the same Timber Brown Stays On ink, and I'm going to glue this on the top. Now first I'm going to cut a little notch on each side to make it sort of like a little banner. So I've cut the notches and inked the edges, and I'm actually going to mat this on this gold holographic paper, just a really thin border to make my greeting really stand out nicely. Okay, so I've gone ahead and finished the front of my card. I've glued the matted greeting to the top, and I also added a strip of the dazzle borders on either side. There's my tree, and at the bottom another strip of border dazzles. So now my front is complete. Oh yeah, and I also inked the edges of the outside of the card, just to make it match that inner panel. So for the inside, I've just simply covered the whole piece with the red swirl, and then I've got the border dazzles coming down on the top, and I did a tree that is the reverse of this tree. So I cut out, using the cutting die, I cut out the tree with the gold holographic paper, and then I traced it and then backed it with the green suede paper. So I'm going to leave this part blank for a short little Christmas greeting, and I'm done with my card. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Stay tuned for the bundle deal, and I will see you again next week. Thanks again for watching. First in the bundle is the Vintage Christmas Paper Pack. So there's 12 sheets in total, 6 designs. We've got some project ideas on the front and on the back. And here's an image of all the papers. We'll go through those though, because they're really pretty. So I love the vintage feel of this pack. It's got some really pretty poinsettias, swirls, lace around this page. And then we've got a more kind of modern looking border here with vintage accents such as the lace, and this print sort of reminds me of a calico fabric. Then we have the pretty red swirls, all over swirl. Sorry, the light's kind of catching that weird. There's that tan and green kind of snowflake dot. Then we have the 2 poinsettia sheets. There's the brown and the teal. So really pretty choices there. Then I also have a sheet 8.5 by 11 of the holographic gold stars and of the forest green velvety suede paper, red glitter border dazzles, and of course, last but not least, the fancy Christmas tree cutting die. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next week.